Just finished reviewing some video because I couldn't remember which one this went on to. And I learned very quickly that this one goes on here. What am I going to learn? I shouldn't try to do things one-handed and use a tripod. Oh, you can do it with one hand tied behind the camera. Hold on. Okay. So I almost got it on one-handed. I think it'd be a little bit easier with two. It doesn't seem like it's quite on there. This is why it looked cockeyed before from the factory. There we go, because that was slightly popped. No, I'm not going to blame on the factory. Okay, and then hopefully on the other end, see, it's actually an advantage to take one off here and the other off here, because then you can't mix up where they go. So that's actually a good thing, even though we just happened to do it that way because it was easier. 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to the D.E. Nichols channel. AutoTheBottle.com. Well, this is what dried from last night. Thankfully, I can just clean the rust, but I thought, oh, no big deal. I cleaned out the tank. I probably don't have to change the filter. You know how they say always change the filter when you change the fuel pump? Guess what? Even if it's only a year later. Wow, I can't believe it. There's this one little area of the tank that I couldn't clean because it was behind a plastic structure that this pops into. Yeah, underneath it, I was so going to be able to reach in this tiny space, pull that. No, just yank the whole thing out. It hasn't broken yet. It's built well. At least it's built well enough. I am having a problem, however, with this. This came new with it, and I don't believe it's going to work on the base with the sock. I'm going to test it on the old one because I don't want to get any of that dirty contamination into the new one. So let's just try this out. Welcome to my messy garage. The only thing good looking in it, other than me, is the tools and the tool chests that are here. Not by choice. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Okay. So the old one, it kind of sits a little bit of an angle inside this plastic area. I think what the plastic piece does is it keeps a higher fuel level around the pump. Actually, I would think it would keep it lower unless fuel can leak into there. And at the bottom, it keeps a bunch of rust debris that I got rid of last time, and I can't believe it's there again. So if that goes on there, will this still go on here? And by the way, they do sell these at different angles, but if it's not about 120 degree, well, it's 120 degree on the inside, but going around, it's 120 off of 360. That's 240 degrees coming around. They do sell other ones that are this way. That won't work unless you want your pump just laying there. You want it secure so that it doesn't move around and break itself while you're doing turns and stuff. Anyway, does this fit? Okay. That actually holds the strainer better than the old version. So I'm looking forward to that because the old version was either broken or half missing. I mean, you can see the cracks in the rubber probably as it slowly starts to tear. So yeah, that's going to fit. I'm still going to use the old one on this side, so that'll sit right. I'm trying to be nice to my friend John for when he comes back over to finish this, to have everything done that I can. I don't have transportation until this is fixed. And that goes on there first, but that's okay. I wanted to keep it as clean as possible. Okay, we're going to have success just as long as the one at AutoZone for $14.99 is at this angle. I better shop around online to make sure I don't waste the ride that I'm getting later for that. Okay, we're ready to go to finish tonight. I've learned the wrong way to do it. Reattaching this on the bench was a bad idea because now it doesn't go underneath this. So now I've got to pull this off to fit this down. Everything else goes really lickety-split, easy together. The big thing is that the ascending unit faces that way and you want to hook it in, but I could barely fit under there, let alone film. So forgive me for being lazy and respectful to my friend who's staying up late to help. Because there's no way that I have, anyway, to put this truck up and down by myself. This truck bed. It's just no safe way alone. That worked. This was so easy, I did it by hand and slid it off. I didn't even use a correct tool. These, I know, are difficult when I marry them back up here. And this I'll hit with the 10mm again and hit it back up here. And that'll be very difficult because it's a complex mess of lifting the bed and dropping it on, getting these on. And if I mess up, the next time I gas up, I'll know it because the gas pump will keep turning off like I did last time on me. I drove all the way to North Carolina not knowing it was because this was not quite sealed to that. It made the gas pump turn off. I don't know how, but it's true. But the point being here is, first I went across and I just barely with my hand got him in, because remember, these are tiny guys, you don't want to break them off. And I had a good sill. My evap system didn't complain, at least. So the truck should run, and we should prove that before we try to lower it and hook up all this stuff that'll make the evap happy. I'm really glad I hit record. I wouldn't have remembered. I would have just been like, okay, what do you do next to put it together, John?
I was going to suggest us fire it up and see what happens.
Okay. Alright, you would have saved me. Okay, you should have seen me do a little kid dance, because this should mean I have a fuel tank read now. It reads fuel! That's a half tank? Wow. Okay. Maybe my fuel pump's worse than I thought, because I was at about 240 miles when it said I was running out of gas by chugging and not running. So maybe my fuel pump was acting up. I don't know. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to prime this a few times. Of course, actually running it will be necessary to get the air out, I think. Man, that new fuel pump sounds a lot better than the old one. The humming you hear up in the dash, that hums with and without the gas tank. That has nothing to do with it. It runs great. And now it knows the temperature of the fuel, so a little bit of short-term fuel trim might turn to long-term fuel trim now. Yeah, it starts right up. It feels better than it did before. Do you mind being in the shop for a second, John? Well, I was talking to you about a truck tonight that had really, really high short-term fuel trim, right? Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't set a long-term fuel trim because there was another issue. Yeah. My truck has a little short-term fuel trim, but it won't set a long-term fuel trim because it's like, well, I don't have all the data. I don't know the fuel temperature. So it could be anything that's wrong with that truck that you're not buying. Yeah. That would have made a lot more sense if I was in the shot, since it was just me talking. Should I reshoot that, or stuff from under the car for that?
Get what?
There's a pile of stuff at the back, underneath the car, of things that needs to go up on top. Because we need rubbers on top, metal underneath, and the bolt that goes through.
Oh, no, I think I know.
I think I've got all my tools out, so it's just a matter of marrying these up. Okay, I really need to grab this in 10mm. I forgot that. All the parts are off. We are ready to drop. We are both putting gloves on to protect our hands, but we'll also have to watch pinch points because it's heavy but not terrible with at least two people. So hopefully it's not lined up, is it, John?
No, it's not really good.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost lined up instead of lined up.
Yeah, it's about an eighth of an inch. Can we just push it forward a little bit?
If you need to, yeah.
Fingers out of the way?
Yeah.
How's that?
You moved it a little.
Not enough?
Actually, that's the wrong direction. Yeah, it needs to go back a little. So we're at the end. We did our 6 bolts. Simple thing of shifting it and putting it together. Getting your 17 that's not totally flat, but a little bit taller for the back one. And then this one behaved where the bracket up top worked instead of trying to spin on you. And we noticed that John commented that on the other side that one went all the way down by finger and the other 2 only just started. And we got thinking about it, and we're sure that it was designed that way because you got 2 that are a slightly interference fit, so it won't shake off, and then one that's easy, so you can have everything started. So bravo to some engineers. And this is definitely 2 people to do this, unless you had a lot of jacks, and I don't really. I mean, you've seen that I do, but they don't go that high. Is it time to tell ghost stories? Woo! Or is it time to go out there and work on something?